It's Hazel Jarvis, it's Art Online, and this week we have a very fun project. We are going to be looking at the mermaid and her washing line. So, as always, I start with my rough sketch. So after I have my rough sketch, I transfer it onto my good watercolor paper and I try not to press too hard. So you can see the sketch here. And we have everything that a mermaid could possibly need. We have her tail, we have her masks, we have her gloves. We are good to go. So once I have my pencil drawing the way I want it, I'm going to start by removing most of the extra graphite. So a number of people have said that they have a problem with deciding how much water and how much paint to use. So today's exercise is all about brush control. It's about how you paint within the line, but it's going to be in a fun and interesting way, I hope. So we're going to start by loading up our brush. We're going to pick a lovely green, and the first thing we're going to do is paint in a pair of shorts. So you load up your brush and you want the paint to be the consistency of thin cream in essence. You start in the corner, you put in a little blob of paint, and then you very carefully drag that paint nice and slowly and smoothly all over the area you've chosen. So you'll see that I have a little blob of paint at the bottom which I can manipulate and push into the corners of the shape. A pair of shorts now looks like this. You have excess water at the bottom, so I just take a napkin or the corner of a little piece of paper towel and I just soak up a tiny bit of that paint. And then if I need to, I knock off the extra paint from the tip of my brush. And working with the paint already on the paper, I can fill in any corners or any areas I might have missed. And then we leave that to dry and we go on to the next shape. And the reason why I love this project is you have so many different shapes to work on, there's no doubt. We're now ready to move on. We mix up another color. We're going to do a beautiful blue. We've got a nice wet blob on the paper ready to manipulate. And we're going to fill in the mermaid's tail. So now we've filled in the mermaid's tail, and you want to get it as smooth as possible, but don't worry if it's not completely smooth because we're going to put a pattern in on top. Switch to a slightly different color and we're going to paint in the mermaid's face mask. Here we have the face mask, and we're going to go across the top line of our washing, just painting in the various items of clothing. Maybe we'll do a pale pair of socks just for fun. So you're just going to go across your washing line, filling in the various items of clothing. As you work your way across your washing line, you want to have some items that are nice and pale and some items that are really dark and beautiful, because we're going to overlay a white pattern on the dark and a dark pattern on the light. So my washing line is now almost complete, except for these clothes which are behind the tail or behind a towel. So I'm going to wait a moment until I'm sure these areas are completely dry before painting in the background ones. But you may notice I have a slight smudge here. And if you do have a slight smudge, it's not the end of the world, because you can always put something in to cover it up. And in this case, since we have the laundry drying in the sun, I'm going to add a nice yellow sun. So here is my yellow sun. And just to be consistent, and because I have these blank white areas here, I think I'm going to add a sun motif onto the beach towel right here. So my laundry line is now complete. A couple of areas are still wet. You can see that little blob at the bottom. So I'm going to step away for a moment and allow them to dry before doing the decorating, which is actually the most fun part. So when it's finally dry, you can take your really good brush with a nice point, get a little bit of brown or black, practice so you get a nice fine line, and you can draw in your washing line. And just do a very light line all the way across. It doesn't have to exactly follow your pencil line because we're going to erase the pencil. So you'll see that bottom line just going in just like that. Have my washing line in. If I think it's finally dry, and I'm very, very careful at this stage because I don't want another smudge, I can erase the pencil. And if you're a little bit hasty, as I was here, and I smudged my towel, you just make the towel a tiny bit bigger and you go away for maybe half an hour and just leave your painting alone so that it dries. If you're worried about doing the washing line and you're terrified that you're going to be a little heavy-handed, you can always use just a sharpened pencil, or you can use a colored pencil, but I wouldn't use a marker because a marker tends to be very strong in contrast. Anyway, now I've got a little bit of brush, a little bit of brown left on my brush, and I'm going to put the clothes pegs on. Clothes pegs are just a tiny dot, just up and down. So the fun part now starts. You don't have to decorate every single item, but where you've got something really dark, as in this beach towel, it's fun to put a white pattern on top. And where you've got something light, it's fun to put a dark pattern. So I start thinking about some under the sea related motifs that our mermaid might like, and I'm thinking about coral or fish or seaweed or just a simple wave pattern. I'm going to take a little bit of my Dr. Martens bleed proof white, and as always I'm going to put it in the little white section. You've got the bleed proof white on your brush. You want to knock a little bit of extra off on your rough paper, and then you'll start to paint, and make sure that you've got a nice fine point because you want a crisp line, you want a contrast. So unlike last week's project, which was a quick one, this is a fairly slow and laborious one, but you just need to take your time, carry on filling in the patterns, listen to some nice music, and just immerse yourself in cooling undersea imagery. And finally, we have our finished washing line. So I used a couple of fine line markers for the scallop shells, and I used the white paint and I used darker paint, and I think it's really fun to layer pattern on pattern. So I hope you'll enjoy this project. I hope you'll stay cool, and I can't wait to see what you do.